Why does a quiet Texas house need a bunker with live video feeds and reinforced walls? Because it wasn't a home. It was a command node tied to Sinaloa and CJNG. In this video, we'll follow the clues investigators used: encrypted night bursts, rooftop cameras aimed at blind spots, and an armored relay vehicle coordinating lookouts. You'll see how one fortified basement became the switchboard for multi-state logistics, and why a 4:03 a.m. lull was the only window to strike. By the end, you'll know exactly how a fortress hid in plain sight. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A quiet cul-de-sac pulsed at night. Rooftop nodes lit up only after midnight, like a forward operating base stitched into shingles and gutters. The first tell wasn't a loud car or a late party. It was traffic, encrypted bursts that flicked on between 1 and 4 a.m., then went dark. Devices slept all day, woke in short windows, and spoke in channels built to hide who sent what to whom. One ping alone means nothing. Dozens over weeks in the same grid said control. Neighbors swore nothing looked off. Lawns cut, trash bins lined up. But the cameras didn't watch doorways. They watched angles homeowners ignore. Side gates, alley mouths, and the ends of the block where a cruiser might pause under a street lamp. Their streams didn't land on known local servers either. They hopped to unregistered endpoints, suggesting a network that didn't trust domestic storage. Analysts laid the arcs on a map and found every approach covered with overlap, not for deterrence, but for tracking movement in and out. The transmissions followed a rhythm: short windows, rotating device IDs, then silence. Vehicles mirrored that tempo. Unregistered sedans slid in just before midnight, swapped drivers, and left before sunrise using back routes that skirted main arteries. The routes matched known logistics patterns used south of the border: avoid plate readers, favor service roads, and never repeat an exit 2 nights in a row. From the street, the house passed. Through thermal and structural scanning, it didn't. Interior walls ran hotter and denser than they should. Doorways read thick, like commercial cores. The foundation supported more weight than a family room needs. None of it matched the permitted plans. That flagged intent. Hold space, slow in entry, survive a cut of the main. The keystone sat below grade. A basement on independent power, screens tied to live feeds from the neighborhood, and a stairwell narrowed to a choke. The redundancy wasn't a prepper kit. It mirrored command posts documented across the border. Keep eyes up, keep comms up, and keep control when the lights die. This house didn't behave like a stash point. It operated like a regional node that could persist under pressure while directing others. Investigators finally called it for what the layout showed: bunker room, reinforced doors, load-bearing interior walls, and a defended descent. Built for command, not comfort. With the blueprint exposed, the question flipped to tempo. If the house expected a hit, the only advantage left was timing. Why 4:03 a.m.? Because the house exhaled then. Overnight rotations dropped for 9 minutes, cameras shifted to low-bit heartbeats, and the driveway stayed empty long enough to gamble on a first-door push. Teams expected a layered entry: a hardened foyer, a narrow hall, and a stairwell built to force a stack to slow. The plan hinged on crossing that first threshold before anyone could dump hardware down into the basement or hit a wipe sequence. Surveillance flagged the window during 3 nights of patterning. Devices that normally rotated in 2-minute bursts stretched to 4. A lookout sedan skipped its usual pass at 3:55. The upstairs light that timed with phone activations stayed dark. That gave a thin slice to move, and every second had a job. Breachers pre-cut charges to match reinforced frames. Cut teams carried bolt breakers for interior cores. Medical staged one house over to keep the footprint tight and quiet. Risks spiked once inside. Thermal hints showed dense door slabs in a shielded turn toward the stairs, likely lined to blunt radio penetration. If comms dropped in that turn, basement defenders would get precious seconds to move drives and tablets. The answer was choreography, FBI took the living room and kitchen to seal back exits. DEA drove straight to the stair mouths to own the descent. A wedge blocked the garage door track. A team split to kill the armored relay vehicle idling 2 streets over. They hit resistance at the cut line. Sandbags stacked waist-high behind a hallway bend. A ballistic shield took point while a second shield slid to angle. Downward, they met the defended descent. Steps narrowed into a chute with a shooting port at knee level. A helmet cam on a runner upstairs streamed out, pushing status pings south. Its feed had to die fast. A counter team traced the relay path to the mobile node, a waiting SUV loaded with a booster rig, meant to hand off updates to off-site handlers. The defense doctrine was classic. Delay at the stair, inform the wider net, and redirect traffic to flush nearby addresses. If command electronics sat below, every minute kept networks alive. 90 seconds after breach, the bunker door folded. Independent power hummed. Live feeds flickered on racks. Reinforced doors and interior walls matched the fortress profile. With the core suppressed, investigators turned to the drywall because the real map was inside the seams. If the cameras were the eyes, the brain sat in the basement rack, and the walls kept its secrets an arm's length away. Post-raid forensics started where the power never blinked. Techs cloned drives, photographed wiring runs, and pulled serials from switching gear that didn't match any homeowner's install. From there, they worked outward. A ledger under a false baseboard listed nights, plate fragments, and dollar amounts. A wiring diagram etched in pencil behind a vent cover showed how feeds looped from the roof down into the bunker, bypassing the main panel. Every device became a pointer. An encrypted tablet held session logs that matched the 1 to 4 a.m. burst windows. A second slate carried routing notes broken into 3-letter codes and mile markers tied to service roads across state lines. A compact radio hub cached call signs that mirrored the vehicle swaps tracked before the hit. The question grew with each unlock. How many houses ran this play at the same hour? The finds stacked into function. Tablets linked to out-of-state towers during the same narrow windows. A laptop cached relay scripts and timing prompts for lookout cars, with pre-written status lines to push if a breach started. Printed coordination notes listed stash turnover times, with arrows marking which address received funds after each dispatch. In a closet cavity, techs pulled 14 firearms, several with suppressors and short barrels. They were staged for hallway fights, not drive-bys. Loaded, labeled for position, and paired with ear pro and spare mags. Then the drywall gave way. False panels popped from magnet latches, revealing heat-shielded cavities packed with currency. Wraps were tight, denominations mixed, totals logged on painter's tape. Count teams tallied roughly $2,300,000 across multiple compartments, consistent with multi-transaction holdings waiting for movement. The cash sat next to spare routers, prepaid phones, and a binder of QR codes mapping payment paths through layered accounts. The logic came into focus. This house acted like a switchboard, not a vault. Orders came in, timing moved through routes, and revenue split to keep the stream thin and constant. Notes referenced states beyond the immediate region, with offsets that lined up with past logistics tempos. Analysts called the footprint defense forward, built to be hard to uproot and easy to resume after a scare. When the arrests rolled, 44 in total, the seized electronics and the money trail tied the address to a network run like a company inside neighborhoods. The real question after the count wasn't whether this model exists. It's how many fortified nodes are already upgrading to it. Fortified command hubs inside suburbs mark a shift in how these groups operate inside the US. They're building staying power, embedding hardened nodes that coordinate, cache money, and keep working after a scare. That mirrors tactics historically seen in Mexico, now adapted for quiet neighborhoods. You can help. Watch for irregular night comms, devices that wake only after midnight. Note camera placement that favors alleys and corners over front doors. If something feels engineered, report it. Share this to widen awareness. One house became a fortress. The next step is detection at scale, spotting the blueprint early, before reinforced basements turn into regional switchboards.